Technician Rollo sat alone in the control room, his hands shaking. He tried to fix the broken transmitter, wires sparking near his fingers. The system had failed hours ago. Power was low. Engines had stopped. And now, people were dying. He pressed the mic again. "This is Avalon Mining Station. We are under attack. We need help, please." His voice cracked. "We beg any power out there help us." Only static answered. Rollo looked at the monitors. One showed the medical wing bodies covered in dark sores. Another showed a cargo tunnel collapsed, trapping 10 miners. The worst screen was the outside feed. It showed the sky. Giant black ships hovered above the moon, silent and still. No markings, no light, just cold metal blocking the stars. "No one's coming," he whispered to himself. He sat back, feeling dizzy. The air was thin now. Backup life support was failing to. He reached for a flask of water, but knocked it over. It rolled across the floor, spilling in silence. Then something blinked on the console. It was faint, a tiny green light. The Earth frequency. Rollo leaned forward. That can't be. The emergency signal, the ancient one from Earth's old Terran Alliance days, was still working. It had sent out a ping. Not once, not twice, but a repeating loop. Someone, somewhere, could still hear it. He activated it fully, fingers flying, fast across the panel. "This is Avalon Moonbase. Unknown ships have released a bioweapon. We're losing oxygen. Systems are crashing. We need help. Repeat, we need help." The message repeated. Outside, one of the black ships shifted slightly, just a ripple in the dark. Rollo froze. They know. He ducked under the desk. His heart raced. He didn't know what those ships were, or what they wanted. They didn't respond to signals. They just arrived. And then everything began to die. He closed his eyes and waited, far across the galaxy. On a moon orbiting Saturn, inside the Terran Defense Command, a red alert sounded. General Reyes stood up from his chair. In the command center, the room was large and full of holographic displays. One of them now pulsed with a green circle, the Earth frequencies, something that hadn't been used in over 100 years. "What is this?" Reyes asked, walking to the console. "Emergency beacon, General," said the technician. "From deep space, ancient format, very weak source, Avalon, mining colony, near Vecca Rim. That sector's been silent for decades." Reyes narrowed his eyes. It was broken, full of static and desperate. "Unknown ships, bioweapon, dying, oxygen low. We beg for help." It looped once, then stopped. "Does the council know?" Reyes asked. "No," the tech replied. "No one else is listening. That frequency hasn't been monitored in years." Reyes stared at the message, the voice, the plea. "They cried for help," he whispered. And no one heard. He turned. Until now, some officers looked nervous. Others looked unsure. "Sir," one said, "we don't even know who attacked them. Could be a trap." Reyes nodded slowly. "Maybe, but we're not Deathworlders because we hide." Everyone fell silent. He stepped forward and tapped the holomap. "Prepare the fleet. Load all med units, battle AI, and to Titan-class dreadnoughts." Captain raised a brow. 2 dreadnoughts. That's enough to level a planet. Reyes looked at him. Exactly. Back on Avalon, the end was near. Rollo lay beside the transmitter. He could barely breathe. Only a few were left alive. Maybe 20, maybe less. The black ships outside were silent, again but still watching Dot in the medical room. Captain Solon, the last senior officer, recorded a short message on a handheld recorder. "To whoever finds this, we waited, we called. If help comes, we'll hold till dawn." But no help came at dawn, only silence. Rollo's eyes fluttered open as the power lights blinked once, then died. The backup generator had finally run dry. He let go of the mic, and then the sky cracked. It wasn't thunder, it was something else. Above the moon, in orbit, space split open as a massive ship exited warp. The Iron Dawn, flagship of the Terran fleet, arrived like a falling star. Its hull was black and jagged, its engines glowing faint red. It made no sound, but its presence screamed danger. The black alien ships reacted at once. They shifted, forming a wall in space. But Earth didn't speak first. It acted. The Iron Dawn opened fire. A rail cannon blast ripped one alien vessel in half. The rest scattered. Below, on the surface, Rollo stared at the sky. Bright blue trails fell from orbit. Drop pods dot the ground shook as armored figures landed. Tall, strong, fast. Each one was wrapped in dark armor with glowing eyes and heavy weapons. One of them walked up to Rollo and scanned him. "Breathing shallow, bioagent detected," said the soldier. His voice was deep, calm, cold. Rollo coughed weakly. "You came." The soldier nodded once. "You called." "We answered." Behind them, more Terran troops spread across the facility, helping survivors, blasting through sealed doors, clearing tunnels, and setting up med stations. One of the soldiers lifted a small child, barely breathing. "Get her to Med 1, he barked. Another soldier shot down a strange crawling creature oozing from a vent. Biothreat confirmed, barkish pattern. Burn everything infected. Captain Solon, half conscious, saw the Earth flag on a soldier's shoulder. "Gods," she whispered. "You're real." General Reyes stood inside a mobile command pod, now parked near the ruins. He looked over a table displaying the entire facility, glowing red and yellow. "How many survived?" he asked. 17, maybe more, buried." "Get them out." "Yes, sir." Outside, Earth's ships chased down the last of the attackers. Some alien vessels fled into Deep Space. 1. Escaped with something dangerous. A black capsule containing data, something the Varkish had wanted hidden, something more deadly than just this moon. Reyes watched its trail disappear into the stars. "We'll find them," he said quietly. The wind howled across Arvalon, kicking up ash and dust. But now there was light again. Ships landed with supplies. Troops worked with calm speed, and most of all, the survivors had hope. Rollo, resting in a medical tent, opened his eyes. A nurse gave him clean water. It was cold and fresh. "You're safe now," she said. He looked up at the sky. "No," he replied, "we're not safe, but we're not alone anymore." And somewhere in deep space, the signal still played. A call for help, a call that Deathworlders answered, with fire and fury. The command room on Luna Station was silent to silent. A small green light blinked on the far console, steady and soft. Outside the massive windows, Saturn loomed in the distance, its golden rings shining faintly in the cold dark. General Reyes stood alone, arms crossed, staring at the holographic replay of the distress signal. It was still broken, still weak, but the fear in the voice was clear. The alien had begged, no, pleaded for help. Behind him, the war table buzzed as officers entered. Tactical maps lit up. Ship diagrams rotated slowly in the air. The signals, coordinates blinked at the edge of known space. Reyes turned around. "You've all heard it. What do we know?" A young officer stepped forward. "Signal is ancient Earth protocol. Emergency beacon. Location, Arvalon. Mining moon. Long abandoned." Another added colony, registered lost decades ago. "We assumed the plague wiped it out." Reyes shook his head. "Someone's still alive. Someone called for help, and we're the only ones listening." The room went quiet again. "Sir," said Admiral Kesselder, "cautious. This could be a trap. Lure the fleet out. Hit us in deep space. Our enemies have tried before." Reyes paced slowly, eyes locked on the signal. "We're not politicians," he said. "We're Deathworlders. We don't ignore cries for help," someone scoffed softly. In the corner, Reyes turned to him. "Something to say, Captain Lin?" The man straightened. "With respect, sir, the Council hasn't approved off-world action in years. They want peace, stability. They won't like us marching into someone else's war." Reyes stepped closer, his voice cold. "I'm not asking for permission. I'm giving an order." He turned back to the table. "Deploy the 11th Expeditionary Fleet, full armament. Load 3 medical cruisers, 7 supply haulers, and 1 AI war corps." An officer hesitated. "You're bringing Argus." "Yes," Reyes said. "If we go ready. Not to talk, not to wait. We go to save lives or to end whoever dares to take them." A murmur of agreement filled the room. He tapped the holomap. Ships flared into formation. Dreadnoughts, carriers, hunter-killers, orbital fire platforms. "All ships will be warp-ready in 8 hours." The AI voice confirmed. A message appeared from Earth's Civilian Council. "Action delayed. Stand." By for review, Reyes dismissed it without a word. He looked around the room one last time. "You all trained for war," he said. "You all wear the Deathworlder badge. Do any of you believe we should wait?" No one answered. Good. High, above Earth, inside the massive Terran ship Iron Dawn, preparations began. Captain Sarai led the ground operations team. Her armor was already half-sealed. She ran through her checklist, voice calm but sharp. Squad 1, heavy assault. Squad 2, medical evac. Squad 3, you're with Miracon, hostage recovery, and close defense. In the mech hangars, engineers loaded rail cannons, kinetic spears, and thermal warheads. AI drones swarmed to inspect hull integrity. The ship's walls echoed with heavy boots and short, sharp orders. In the fighter bay, Ensign Maya climbed. Into her interceptor, it was sleek, fast, and deadly. Just like her, Maya, a mechanic warned. "You're going into unknown territory," she smiled. "Good. The unknown's never ready for us." The mechanic shook his head. "You Deathworlders are all crazy." She flipped her visor down. "We're not crazy. We're built different." The engines roared to life. Back on Luna Station, General Reyes walked to the viewing deck. Outside, glowing faint blue under the station's lights. He took a deep breath. This was more than a mission. This was a line drawn in the stars. If humanity still meant something, if Deathworlders still stood for more than just survival, then they had to act. He pulled up the secure command line and sent one short message. "Fleet, en route, we answer the call." GR far across the galaxy, on Arvalon, Technician Rollo coughed in his sleep. A nurse checked his vitals. Oxygen was rising, thanks to the backup tanks the Terrans had dropped. Outside, in the sky above, the black alien ships began to move again. Captain Solon stood at the surface. Holding a plasma rifle, she saw the alien ships shifting positions. "They know someone's coming," she said. "But who?" asked a wounded guard beside her. Solon narrowed her eyes. "I don't know," she whispered, "but I hope they bring hell with them." Back in warp space, the Terran fleet jumped. The stars stretched like lines. Space bent around the warships. Time-twisted Dot in the command seat, Reyes stared ahead. The AI core Argus flickered to life beside him. "General," it said, "predictive models suggest 89% chance of hostile encounter." Reyes didn't blink. "Let them come," he said. "They'll learn what happens when you make Deathworlders angry." The stars were gone. Outside the viewports of the Iron Dawn, there was only blackness. Not the kind of black that came from night, but the kind that swallowed sound, swallowed light, and swallowed ships. Ensign Maya stood in the bridge's observation dome, her helmet resting under her arm. She'd been through training simulations, seen battle records, flown real combat missions across Mars' orbit, but nothing prepared her for this. "Hyperspace?" she asked. "No," answered Captain Sarai, stepping beside her. "It's worse. It's the Vecker Rift. No navigation beacons, no safe exit points, no rescue." Maya frowned. "So why are we going in?" The captain looked at the pulsing red dot on the center screen. Ervalin's last known position. "Because someone in there asked for help, and we're the only monsters crazy enough to answer." Behind them, General Reyes entered the bridge, followed by Argus, the ship's AI. Argus's avatar was a floating projection of shifting white light with a calm, emotionless voice. Distance to Arvalon, 3.8 light days. Estimated time to emergence, 14 hours. Reyes crossed his arms. Status of the fleet. All ships accounted for. Shields, strong. Weapons, live. But, Argus added, long-range sensors detect faint anomalies. Unknown movement, shadow class signals. Could be Varkish stealth tech. Maya turned toward the general. "What if they know we're coming?" Reyes didn't hesitate. "Then we give them a reason to regret waiting." Meanwhile, in the hangar bay, Sergeant Kova ran a final systems check on his team's drop pods. His armor was heavy, jet-blacked, and bore the red fang emblem of the Terran Marine Zan Old Deathworlder symbol. "Everyone locked and loaded?" he barked. "Yes, sir," his team replied, in perfect sync. Kova nodded and turned to the shuttle. "Pilot, keep engines hot. If we need to drop fast, there won't be time for second chances." A young corporal asked, "Sir, what if our Valen's already gone?" Kova's eyes didn't blink. "Then we'll burn whatever took it." 12. Hours later, the fleet reached the final stretch of the rift. The edge of known space ended here. Beyond lay the ghost zones regions, where even light got lost in the ship's control core. Argus made a quiet announcement, approaching exit vector. Warning, no confirmed safe coordinates. All systems switched to active combat readiness. Suddenly, alarms shrieked on the bridge. Maya's screen flashed red. Something's out there. What is it? Reyes demanded. The blackness around them shifted like a ripple across still water. One moment the space was empty. The next, dozens of shapes appeared. They didn't glow. They didn't shine. But the light bent around them. Stealth field. Signature? Argus said. Size, unknown. Number, rising. Engagement probability, 94%. Captain Sarai shouted, "Shields up! All fighters prepare for launch. Arm railguns." Reyes barked. "Let's show them what a Deathworlder fleet can do." The first enemy ship lunged from the shadows, its shape sleek, like a blade made of night. It fired a pulse of green plasma toward one of the escort ships. The Terran frigate Hammervow shook violently. "Minor damage," Argus reported, shields holding. Then the sky exploded. Terran ships fired back rail slugs, ion beams, flak bursts. The Iron Dawn fired a round the size of a city bus that slammed through 2 enemy cruisers, sending them into spinning clouds of molten metal. Fighter squadrons launched. Maya led Alpha Wing, her ship cutting through the chaos like a lightning bolt. "They're fast," she said, dodging fire. "But they're not better." She locked onto a target and fired. The enemy exploded in silence, a burst of green shards swallowed by space. One Terran carrier lost shields. An enemy vessel latched onto it with clawed docking arms, preparing to board. Argus stated, Kova squad launched instantly. Inside their pods. Flames roared around them as they shot toward the enemy ship. Pods slammed into the hull, magnetic clamps latching tight. Doors blew open. Kova shouted as they charged in, guns blazing. The enemy soldiers weren't like anything they'd seen before. Tall, insectoid, biomechanical, their armor oozed fluid. Their weapons screamed. But Kova and his team didn't flinch. "Deathworlders," he roared. "No mercy." The hallways turned into fire and blood. Terran rounds tore through alien flesh. Kova shoved a grenade into a nest of the creatures and detonated it, taking out half the boarding crew. Minutes later, silence. The boarding attempt had failed. Back on the Iron Dawn, Argus announced, "Enemy forces retreating. We hold orbital space." Maya's fighter returned with damage. She jumped out, breath heavy, arms shaking. Captain Sarai approached. "You okay?" Maya nodded. "They're fast, but we're faster." "Good, get some rest. We're entering descent orbit from space." Arvalon looked worse than the reports. What was once a mining moon now looked like a scarred battlefield. Blackened fields, burned towers, craters still smoking. 1/3 of the colony had collapsed entirely into the ground. And still, the emergency beacon blinked. Somewhere down there, people were alive or dying. Inside the command chamber, Reyes stared at the surface scan. "Too quiet," he muttered. Argus answered, "Heat signatures detected. Life signs, 17. Weak, located in subsurface zone 7. Launch search teams," Reyes ordered, "and send down Kova squad." He paused, then added, "Bring med units and heavy weapons. We don't know what else is waiting." The dropships launched, engines roared. Their shadows spread across the broken surface of Arvalon. Inside the lead shuttle, Kova checked his rifle and looked at his team. "We go in clean. Rescue priority 1. But if we meet hostiles, we end them," the squad replied. As the ships neared the surface, a voice crackled over the comms. Help, Arvalon command. This is Solon. Is someone there?" Kova leaned in. "Solon, this is Sergeant Kova, Terran Marines. We got your signal. Hold tight, we're coming." Static. Then, too late, they're still here. Suddenly, red lights blinked on the shuttle's dash. "Missiles incoming," the pilot shouted. "Hold on!" 2 explosions lit up the sky. One shuttle took a hit and spun out of control. Crashing in the distance, Kova's ship dropped hard, bounced, and landed rough. "We're down!" Kova yelled. "Everyone move! Defensive formation." The squad exited fast, weapons ready. Ash fell like snow. Smoke curled from burning towers. The world was silent. To silent dot, then came the sound-clicking whispering. Shapes moved in the fog. Kova narrowed his eyes. Eyes up, we've got company. The Varkish had not left. They had just waited, and now they were ready to strike. The wind screamed across Arvalon, but inside the tunnels below the surface, everything was quiet. The barrel was scorched, and her armor had cracks. Her face was pale, lips dry. Her soldiers were gone, her team dead. Hiding deeper inside the base, she could still hear the last words from the surface TM Terrans. They had answered the distress call. They were coming. But that was 2 hours ago. And now, silence, the kind of silence that meant death. A young alien boy named Yari sat beside her. His breathing was shallow. He clutched a ragged blanket. Eyes wide. Will the Deathworlders really come? He asked softly. Solon looked at him, forcing a tired smile. They already have. Mining zone. Smoke drifted across the broken buildings. Shadows moved in the fog. Kova raised his fist, signaling his squad to halt. He crouched beside a shattered power generator and scanned the area. Argus, he whispered into his helmet mic. Are you seeing this? Maya's wing. Tell them to give us a flyover. I want that fog cleared. Yes, sir. A minute later, a loud roar split the sky. Maya's fighter zoomed over the outpost at high speed, her ship's engines burning bright. The blast of air scattered the fog and revealed what lay beneath figures. Dozens, maybe more. They weren't running, they weren't hiding. They were standing still, waiting. Each one was tall, thin, covered in black, chitinous armor that pulsed with faint green light. Their limbs moved like spiders. Long, sharp claws scraped the metal ground. They're not charging, Dren said nervously. They're just watching us. They're studying us, Kova muttered. Like prey. Behind the squad, Private Zane tightened his grip on his weapon. Permission to open fire. Kova shook his head. Not yet. Let's draw them in. The antenna sparked to life with a loud hum. Back below the surface, Captain Solon heard it. The sound echoed through the tunnels. She stood quickly. That's the comm tower. She turned to Yari. They made it. She grabbed her weapon and headed for the main access lift, but Yari hesitated. What if the monsters come to... Solon looked back. Then we fight together. Stay behind me. At the comm tower, Kova's squad held position. The Varkush didn't move. Then one of them stepped forward. It was different, taller, armored in silver instead of black. Its head glowed faint red, and when it spoke, the voice echoed inside their helmets, translated by AI systems. You should not have come, Kova replied without fear. Someone cried for help. The Varkish commander tilted its head. They were meant to die. Quietly, forgotten. Kova smiled coldly. That's not how Deathworlders do things. The alien hissed, you have no place in this war. Leave or be buried here. Behind Kova, Zane whispered. They don't know us at all. Kova gave one last warning. This is your only chance. Stand down, or we show you what fear really looks like. It simply raised its arm and pointed. Then the silence broke. From the buildings, from vents, from broken ships, hundreds of Varkish swarmed forward. Contact, Kova shouted. All squads engage. Gunfire erupted. Plasma bolts lit up. The smoke, the air turned to fire and chaos. Kova fired his rifle, dropping 3 targets in seconds. Beside him, Dren used a portable turret, mowing down a cluster of enemies. Zane threw a concussion grenade, blasting apart a charge from the left. The Varkush were fast, too fast for most species, but not fast enough for Deathworlders. These Terrans were trained on fire-ridden Earth. They had survived acid jungles, freezing moons, and rogue AI wars. The Varkish brought fear. Humans brought fury. Kova moved like a machine, every shot finding its mark. But they were being pushed back to many enemies. Too many angles, then the ground beneath them shook. The center of the battlefield opened as a huge shape rose from below. It was a Varkish warbeast, 20 meters tall, with steel tusks and glowing eyes. Zane froze. What the hell is that? Kova looked up, target priority 1, before the squad could react. A blast of light came from above. A rail slug, the size of a tank, slammed into the beast, ripping it apart in a single strike. It exploded in a wave of green fire. Above, the Iron Dawn had fired from orbit. Kova smirked. Thank you, Reyes. Back on the ship, General Reyes watched the battle feed from his command chair. Maya, he said calmly, keep the skies clear. Argus, send drop teams 3 and 4. They'll need backup. Inside the tunnels, Solon and Yari reached the surface elevator. The lift creaked and groaned as it moved up. They emerged just in time to see the battlefield explosions, screams, energy beams lighting the darkness, Deathworlders pushing forward, step by step against the tide. Yari gasped. They're winning. Solon stepped forward, raising her weapon. No, she said. Move to our right flank. She nodded and joined the formation. The two forces, the survivors and the Deathworlders, fought. Side by side, Kova shouted, we need to fall back to Zone 3. There's a bunker, solid walls. Copy that, Solon replied. Covering each other, dragging wounded, carrying survivors. Finally, they reached the bunker. Dren slammed the reinforced doors shut. We're sealed. Inside, medics worked fast. Blood, some human, some alien, coated his gloves. But they had made it. For now, he turned to Solon. You held out longer than anyone expected. She nodded. Because we believed someone would come. Kova smiled faintly. And we did. The enemy had fallen back, but it wasn't over in the distance. More Varka ships landed. Maya's voice came through the comms. Kova, you're not going to like this. They're sending more. A lot more. Kova looked up at the ceiling, thinking the silence was back. But this time, it was loaded with pressure, with fire, with a storm waiting to break loose again. He turned to his squad. We hold this bunker. We hold the survivors. And when they come again, he loaded his rifle. We remind them what Deathworlders are. The storm had returned. Wind swept across the ruined surface of Arvalon, carrying ash, dust, and smoke. The sky above burned a dull red. Lightning cracked across the clouds, painting the broken buildings in flashes of white. The old communications tower, once the heart of the colony, now stood like a twisted skeleton, its top half missing, wires dangling like vines. The base of the tower had cracked open, one side buried in rubble. Half the stairs were gone. But inside, there was life. Captain Solon and Sergeant Kova crouched by a shattered terminal near the tower's base. Survivors huddled in silence, exhausted and afraid. Terran medics worked quickly, injecting nanodrugs, sealing wounds, restoring oxygen. Solon wiped sweat from her brow and looked at Kova. How long do we have? Kova stared at the skies. Not long. There's second waves forming up. Maya says the orbit's getting hot again. Solon grimaced. Then we need to finish this. Kova turned to his team. We came for survivors. We found them. But there's one more reason we're here. He pointed at the half-buried tower. The original beacon's here. That signal went out across the stars. If we can boost it again, all channels, it won't just reach Earth. It'll reach the whole damn galaxy. Corporal Drin stepped forward. But that means going inside. Underneath, that place is a death trap. Kova nodded. Inside the broken tower, it was dark, very dark. Kova's squad moved in first, flashlights cutting through thick dust. Old screens flickered as power tried to come alive. Debris blocked the main path, forcing them down a maintenance ladder. Maya stayed above in orbit, her fighter circling high. I've got eyes on your tower, she said through comms. Enemy patrols moving near your sector. You've got 10 minutes, tops. Kova replied, copy that. If we're not out in 10, bring the fire. Like stepping into a tomb, the air was heavy. Pipes dripped slowly. Emergency lights blinked red. Something buzzed behind the walls. The main control unit was there but cracked. Half the system had melted during the first attack. Wires sparked. Circuits were dead. But technician Rollo, barely recovered, had insisted on coming. Now, crawling under the broken console, he held tools in one hand, a Terran power cell in the other. I can fix it, he whispered. Just need a little more time. Kova stood guard by the door with Solon Dren, and Zane covered the hallway behind them. Make it fast, Kova said. Rollo connected the wires. The old Earth beacon flickered. It tried to speak. Beep, B. His hand on the panel, the light blinked green dot signal online. He grinned. It's working. Suddenly, the hallway outside shook, a shrieking noise, metal tearing. Zane shouted, Contact, rear hall. Dozens of Varkish poured in through the vents and broken walls. Kova raised his rifle. Hold the line. Gunfire lit up the tunnel. The Deathworlders stood shoulder to shoulder, defending the beacon. The enemy came fast, crawling, sprinting, jumping off walls. One lunged at Rollo. Solon spun, shot at midair, then helped him to his feet. "Send the signal now," she yelled. Rollo slammed the activation key. A blast of energy burst from the beacon, shaking the tower. The message blared across the galaxy. "This is Arvalon. We live, we fight, we ask for justice. Earth has come. You should too," it repeated over and over, and was heard by every satellite, every outpost, every species within range in orbit. "It's live, sir, galaxy-wide. Everyone's hearing it." Reyes smiled. "Good now. They'll know the Deathworlders don't come quietly." Then a new alarm sounded. Enemy warship detected. Argus spoke calmly. Flagship-class Varkish vessel, planet killer type. This was always their final play. Reyes turned to his officers. "Prepare all orbital platforms. Lock railguns on their engines. Maya, pull your wing back." "I want full skyfire ready, Maya," responded Overcomes. "Understood, sir," pulling back, "but we'll give them something to remember." Back on the surface, the tower was shaking. Rollo had collapsed beside the panel, coughing. Zane pulled him back. Solon shouted, "Signals out, fall back." The squad moved fast, dodging fire, shooting down creatures at close range. Kova threw a grenade behind him, taking out the rest as they climbed out of the tower. The second wave began. Alien drop pods fell from the sky like burning meteors. The Varkish weren't finished. They wanted Arvalon wiped from the galaxy, but the Deathworlders were done running. Kova looked to Reyes on the comm. "We're ready, sir," Reyes's voice answered. "Then hold on to something." From orbit, the Iron Dawn launched its final weapon, a kinetic rod tungsten core. From high orbit, silent and deadly. It struck the landing zone near the tower. The explosion wasn't fire. It was pure force. The ground cracked. A shockwave spread for miles, and the sky turned white. Maya watched from above as alien ships scattered. Direct hit. Kova shielded Yari behind rubble as the blast washed over them. Then silence, real silence, no. More enemy movement. The tower still stood. The beacon still played, and the Varkish were gone. Hours later, the survivors gathered at a field base beside the tower. Shuttles landed, medics moved freely. Food, clean water, fresh air all flowing again. Solon sat beside Rollo, who smiled weakly. "You fixed it," she said. "No," Rollo replied. "We did." Yari ran to Kova and handed him a crude drawing of him fighting monsters. "You saved us," Kova chuckled. "We all saved each other." General Reyes arrived on a lander. Soldiers saluted him as he walked through the crowd. At the cracked tower, that signal will echo for years. Solon nodded. "Will others come?" Reyes turned to the stars. "They will. Some to help, some to challenge us. Either way, they'll know. Him-bloodied, tired, alive." We answer. The broken moon of Arvalon was quiet again. But it wasn't peace, not yet. But General Reyes knew the real enemy was still out there. He stood on a metal platform overlooking the ruined battlefield. His coat flapped in the wind. Scars marked the earth-burned trenches, shattered towers, and deep black craters. Reyes turned to Argus, the ship's AI now projected beside him. "The warship we destroyed wasn't their true leader, was it?" "No," General Argus replied. "Their flagship was only a forward vessel. The real Varkish command is still hidden." Reyes narrowed his eyes. "Then it's time we find them." In a dark canyon 2 kilometers from the colony, Sergeant Kova and his squad moved slowly through a ravine filled with broken machines. Black drones hovered above them, scanning the rocks. Private Zane stepped over a crushed Varkish shell. "This place gives me the creeps." Kova didn't stop walking. "They set it up under our noses." Corporal Dren added, "And they never expected us to push this far. Only one way." To find out, they followed the signal to a narrow cave entrance. It wasn't natural. Metal plating and Varkish writing marked the sides. They went in and found the truth. The chamber was massive, like a hollow heart beneath the surface. Strange. Green lights pulsed along the walls. In the center, something floated encased in glass. A being tall, pale, humanoid, but not human. Its eyes were closed. Machines beeped softly, keeping it alive. Zane whispered, "What the hell is that?" Dren stepped closer. "It's not Varkish. It's something else. Something there." Using Kova looked at a nearby console, he tapped it. They captured it, and it spoke Terran code. It's their weapon. Back at the field base, Reyes studied the live video feed. Solon stood beside him, frowning. "They built a command center around this prisoner." "Yes," Reyes replied, "because that thing is what started the Varkish wave." Solon's eyes widened. "A signal controller." Reyes nodded. "More than that, a living transmitter. They used its mind to reach worlds, paralyze systems, and disrupt colonies, and Arvalon. They tested it here first." Solon's hands clenched into fists. "Can we save it?" Argus replied, "Unclear. But we must try before the Varkish return to reclaim it." Reyes gave the order. "Kova, secure the target. We're bringing it back." Inside the chamber, Kova connected a stasis pod to the machine. Carefully, the floating figure was moved into the pod. The machine's hum faded. For a moment, it looked like nothing would happen. Then its eyes opened, golden, glowing. Afraid it spoke, but not in words and thought. "I was lost. They took me." "You are not them." Kova stared in shock. "It's communicating without sound." The being's thoughts echoed again. "You must destroy the throne. ... They are not Varkush. They were made." Suddenly, a blast shook the cave. Outside, unlike the earlier waves, these were faster, meaner, and larger. They came in silence, no signals, no warnings. Only fire. The Iron Dawn fired railguns from orbit. Maha's squad raced across the sky, trying to intercept bombers. The Kenyan Kova squad fought their way back up the tunnels, carrying the stasis pod. Zane dragged him with one arm while firing with the other. Kova held the front line. Reyes shouted, "Overcome status." Kova yelled, "But we're pinned." Reyes turned to his fleet commander. "Drop the hammer right on the ridge." "Sir, our men are down there. Do it." From orbit, the Terran dreadnought Red Warden released a seismic charge. It screamed through the clouds and slammed into the canyon walls. The explosion cracked. Shielded by debris, the enemy was gone. For now, hours later, inside a sealed medical bay, the golden-eyed being lay unconscious inside a glass pod. Scientists scanned its vitals. AI systems hummed. Solon watched from outside. "What is it?" Reyes entered. It said, "The Varkish were made." "That means there's someone else behind this. Another power?" Solon asked. Reyes nodded slowly, maybe even worse than them. They looked at the stars through the viewport. "What now?" Solon asked. Reyes didn't blink now. "We go hunting." The stars were no longer safe. Every signal sent from Arvalon now came with a warning. Something made the Varkush, and it's still watching. Inside the command deck of the Iron Dawn, General Reyes stood silent. Outside the massive windows, the battlefield below was calm for now. The colony was rebuilding, the survivors recovering, but deep space had gone quiet. To quiet. Captain Solon walked in, holding a datapad. Her face was pale. "We finished decoding the messages from the golden-eyed being," she said. Reyes raised an eyebrow. "And it wasn't just warning us," she said. "It was begging us." He frowned. "Begging." Solon handed over the datapad. The alien mind ones used as a living signal device had shared coordinates, not of Arvalon, not of a nearby world, but of something hidden, something old, a station far beyond mapped space. Reyes studied the data. Deep void sector, uncharted systems, dead zones. Argus, now fully linked with the bridge, chimed in. "That station matches no known race. No logs, no satellite history. Coordinates only appear in one Terran archive from 500 years ago." Reyes narrowed his eyes. "Which archive?" Argus answered coldly. "The black box of the lost ship, Vigilant Dawn." 3 days later, number beacons, only cold silence. Inside her fighter. Maya stared out at the empty void. "I don't like this," she muttered. Argus responded, overcomes. "You're not wrong. No known signals. No planetary drift. Something in this region absorbs energy, including light." In the Iron Dawn's bridge, Reyes stood before a tactical map filled with unknowns. "Any chance this is a Varkish base?" Argus answered, "No. The architecture is not theirs. Too advanced, too old. In the blackness floated the station. It was massive. Black metal, shaped like a ring, with a hollow center. Lights blinked along its surface, but dim, flickering, like a sleeping beast dot, and across its hull, one word blinked in faded Terran code. Welcome Solon. Stepped closer. It's inviting us in. Reyes gave the order. Inside the ancient station, it was like stepping into another world. Kova's ground team led the way. Weapons ready. The corridors were made of smooth silver stone. No wires, no machines. Yet screens lit up as they passed. Symbols danced on the walls, none of them human. None of them VAR. Kosh, Private Zane whispered, this place is older than anything I've ever seen. Then the walls shifted. A soft voice echoed calm, female, speaking in perfect English. You have come, you carry the signal. And now you will know. The team froze. Who said that? Kova asked. A hologram appeared before them, a woman human. In shape, glowing white-blue, but her face shimmered between different forms. Human, alien, synthetic. She spoke again. I am the librarian, keeper of the architects. You have brought the key. Suddenly, the stasis pod floated into the air. The golden-eyed being inside glowed brighter. The chamber pulsed. We made them, the librarian said. We made the Varkish and others. Before your kind ever walked the earth. Everyone stared in silence. Zane whispered, You made the Varkish. They were soldiers, designed to fight wars we never wanted, but they evolved, broke their chains, spread, killed their masters. Solon stepped forward. And the being we rescued. Asterisk, the last of the signal bearers, the librarian said. He was not a prisoner. He was a warning. The Varkish didn't make him. They feared him, but they used him. He escaped, but he still remembers us. That's why you found him. Kova frowned. Then why are you still here? The librarian's face darkened. Because the Varkush are not your only problem. Suddenly, alarms echoed across the station. Argus's voice broke through the comms. Enemy fleet approaching. Unknown class, stealth armor, closing fast. Reyes barked, defensive posture. Get everyone back to the ships. The librarian's voice changed. No, you must not leave. If you go, they'll track you to Earth. Reyes froze. Who's coming? He asked. Not Varkish, worse. Screens on the wall blinked to life. Dozens of new ships appeared strange, spiked fast. They moved like shadows, folding space around them. Solon stared. What are those things? The librarian answered with one word. They're masters. Above the station, chaos began. The enemy fleet launched the first strike. Energy blasts smashed into the Terran shields. One cruiser took a hit and spun out of formation. Maya led her wing into the fire. They're faster than Varkish ships, she said, but they bleed. She fired missiles into their lead formation. One ship burst into flames, but two more replaced it instantly. These aren't fighters, she shouted. They're hunters. Inside the station, Kova's squad defended. The core as blast doors slammed shut. Dren was hit in the leg. Solon dragged him behind cover. The librarian's form grew brighter. I can send the signal, she said. A system-wide pulse that will blind their tracking, but it will cost this station everything. Reyes didn't hesitate. Do it. You may not survive. He looked around at his people, at the being in the pod, at the sky full of war. Terrans, he said, we don't ask if we survive. We ask if it matters. The librarian smiled. Then let the galaxy remember this. She vanished in space. A wave of white light burst from the station. The enemy fleet froze just for a second. That was enough. The Iron Dawn fired every weapon at once. Rail slugs, lasers, missiles. The sky turned into fire. Mahea's wing struck. From behind, crippling to more enemy cruisers, pushed them back. She yelled. The Terran ships circled tight, protecting each other, fighting as one. Then silence. The enemy ships turned and fled. Inside the station, everything shook. Panels cracked, lights dimmed. The librarian's voice echoed one last time. I gave you a chance. Use it wisely. The real war has begun. The station began to fall apart. Kova's squad raced back to their shuttle with the pod. Dust rained from the ceiling. One final jump through closing gates and they made it out. The Iron Dawn pulled them in and jumped to warp dot behind them. The station collapsed into itself, becoming a starless grave. Later, in the ship's quiet recovery bay, the golden-eyed being opened his eyes once more. Solon stood beside him. "Who were they?" she asked. He spoke for the first time with his voice. "They made the Varkish and others. They control entire sectors. They don't fear Deathworlders yet." Solon leaned closer. "But they will." He nodded. "If you keep fighting like that, yes." The galaxy had changed. Ever since the librarian's signal blinded the Varkash's creators, whispers spread across hundreds of systems. Some were afraid, some were curious. And some, especially the broken, the hunted, began to hope, because someone had stood up to the monsters. And that someone was Earth. In Earth's orbit, the Terran defense fleet hung like a steel shield over the blue planet. Thousands of warships, carriers, and orbital cannons stood ready. For the first time in centuries, Earth had called every fleet home in the command tower of Fort Sci-Fi, a massive orbital platform above the Atlantic. General Reyes watched Earth spin slowly below. Solon stood beside him, arms crossed. "The signal," she said. "They heard it." Reyes nodded. "And now they're watching to see what we'll do next." Argus, now fully integrated with the station, added all quiet in-system sectors, but deep scans show cloaked probes, several scattered across fringe orbits. "Spies," Solon muttered. Reyes turned to the comms officer. "Send the hunter." "Drones," quietly. Then he looked at Solon. "The galaxy thinks humans are still just survivors, victims, broken colonies with scars and guns." "That ends now," Solon nodded. "Then what's the plan?" Reyes answered. "We stop waiting. Earth rises first." In the Terran Assembly Hall in Geneva, leaders from across Earth's nations gathered. Behind them floated holograms of Terran colonies: Mars, Europa, Titan, Kepler-62, and now Arvalon. Reyes stood before them all. The Varkish were not alone. "We now know there are older threat-sentient powers who create armies, destroy worlds, and remain hidden." He pointed toward the sky. "But we are not hidden, we are seen. And for once we're ready." A senator asked, "You want to take Earth's fleets and go after them directly?" Reyes nodded. "Yes, before they come here." Another leader leaned forward. "What if this sparks a war across the galaxy?" Reyes didn't blink. "It already has." He looked at the crowd. "You call Earth a death world. You think that means we survive. But it doesn't. It means we win. Even in the worst places, against the worst things. We win because we refuse to die quietly." The chamber was silent. Then applause began, and it didn't stop. 2 weeks later, Earth's fleet launched. Over 500 ships moved out across the stars, no longer responding to cries for help. Now they were the ones knocking. Maya led a new fighter squadron, Stormblade Wing. Inside her sleek, upgraded fighter, she flew point for a convoy near the border of dead space. Behind her were civilian transports carrying evacuees from threatened worlds. Their mission was to scout, shield, and strike first if anything emerged. "Clear skies so far," she said into comms. Argus responded, "Caution." Detecting faint energy signatures, Echo-class cloaks, Maya tightened her grip. "Prep weapons. I see something." Out of the shadows, 3 strange ships appeared, sleek, silent, shaped like daggers. But this time, Earth didn't wait. "Target lock," Maya said. Missiles launched. 2 enemy ships were vaporized before they even fired. The third tried to run but ran straight into a waiting Terran gunship. Maya smiled. No mercy this time. Elsewhere, in deep space, Sergeant Kova and his squad dropped onto a black asteroid base suspected of harboring ancient tech. Inside the base, they found no enemy soldiers, no guards, just machines, strange machines, humming with power and memory. Private. Zane scanned a wall and blinked. "Sir, this map." Kova stepped closer. The map showed entire star cluster systems Earth had never seen, and over each one floated a symbol. "Not Varkish older, looks like we found their empire," Kova muttered. Then the wall lit up. A voice echoed, "Not human, not synthetic, ancient, cold. You are Deathworlders. You should not be here." Kova raised his rifle. "And yet here we are," the voice answered. "You cannot stop what we are. You were made to burn." Zane replied with a grin. "Funny. We were thinking the same about you." In orbit, General Reyes studied the data streaming in from dozens of new recon teams. Solon stood at the war map, marking each new signal with glowing red pins. "These are their colonies," she said. "Not military outposts, civilian centers, biolab storage worlds." Reyes tapped one pin on the edge of a system marked Cassari Fringe. "That's where we go next." Solon looked up. "First strike," Reyes nodded. "Earth rises first, and we hit them where it hurts." The Terran fleet warped into the Cassari Fringe. No warnings, no signals, just sudden death. Railgun, slugs, shattered orbital defenses. Stealth. Corvettes cut power grids with virus bombs. Mayaz, fighters ripped through their ships like razors in the wind. Kova's team landed on the surface, breaching command towers and data cores. One by one, the ancient machines fell silent. No speeches, no surrender, only fire. Hours later, the last resistance crumbled. Solon walked through the ruined enemy archive on the main planet, studying glowing panels still running. "Sir," she said to Reyes, "overcomes, I think I've found something big." "What is it?" Reyes asked. She paused, then said, "Proof." Back on the Iron Dawn, a message appeared on every Terran screen. A recording, not from the Varkush, from their masters. It showed creatures with shifting forms, standing before an army of drones. Behind them slave races, including fragments of early human DNA. Reyes stared. "They knew about us before we walked upright," he whispered. Argus added, "They seeded many species. Some were tools, others entertainment. Earth may have been one of their wild zones," Solon growled. "They created monsters. We became worse." Reyes turned to the bridge. "Prepare a new message." Galaxy Y, the comms officer, nodded. "What's the message, sir?" Reyes stood tall. "Let them know. We are coming. We're not running. We're not begging." He looked straight ahead. "Earth rises first, and we are bringing fire." They had pushed too far the creators, the ancient ones behind the Varkashwar. Angry now, and afraid. For the first time in 1,000 years, something had struck their core worlds. Not quietly, not with spies or sabotage, but with fire and fury, and Earth had lit the match. Now, their response was coming. It was not a warning, it was an extermination. Aboard the Iron Dawn, alarms blared across every deck. Argus, the ship's AI, filled the war room with projections of moving dots. Of them, Solon stared at the map in disbelief. "That's impossible." Even Reyes was quiet for a moment. 300 ships, Argus said calmly. Multiple classes. One dreadnought confirmed. Largest enemy movement recorded since first contact with the Varkush, the Terran fleet. Was strong but this was a war swarm. "Where are they going?" Reyes asked. Argus highlighted one point on the map. Earth, the room went still. Then Reyes stepped forward. "Alert all Terran colonies. Begin global evacuation protocols. I want every warship between here and Earth moving now." He turned to Solon. "We started this. Now we finish it." In orbit over the Terran colony of Elter 3, Maha's fighter wing flew tight V patterns, patrolling the sky as transports loaded thousands of civilians into escape shuttles. From above, the sky looked peaceful, but every pilot knew that peace was. Alai Mayaz, second in command, Tilo, flew beside her. "They're calling it the Reckoning Fleet," he said quietly. She didn't answer. He added, "Some think we shouldn't have hit their core. We brought this on ourselves." Maya tightened her grip on the controls. "No," she said. "They brought this the day they made us pray." Suddenly, Argus's voice echoed in every ship. "Contact. Outer system. 72 enemy vessels entering strike range. Brace for impact." The sky lit up back on Earth. Across every continent, sirens wailed. Civilians moved underground. Orbital cannons powered up. The Iron Dawn returned to high orbit, joined by dozens of new ships. The sky above Earth became a wall of metal. General Reyes stood in Fort Skyfire's main command deck. "Let them come," he said. "They think we're still afraid. Let's show them Earth doesn't kneel." In space, the battle began. The first wave of enemy ships swept toward the Terran defense line. Missiles fired, railguns roared. Beam weapons tore across the void. Wing danced through chaos. She dodged 2 missiles, looped under a heavy cruiser, and fired a cluster torpedo that split an enemy ship in half. But for every enemy destroyed, 2 more took its place. "They're not stopping," Tilo shouted. "They're swarming like machines." "They are machines," Maya replied, "but we're humans, and we don't break." At the edge of the battlefield, Kova's strike team boarded an enemy command vessel using stealth pods inside. They moved fast, clearing the halls, avoiding detection. Zane placed charges on power cores. Dren covered the rear, limping slightly. From a past injury, "This ship's huge," Zane whispered, "and cold, like it wasn't made by anything alive." Kova touched the walls. "Smooth. No heat. It wasn't," he said. "They built these ships without pilots, controlled from something else, somewhere else." Then a voice echoed in their minds, calm, "Cruel, alien. You cannot win. You were made to die." Zane growled. "Then whoever made us did a terrible job." They reached the central data core. Kova uploaded a virus built by Argus to break the control link. The screen flashed green. "Done," he said. Out. As they escaped, the ship's lights flickered, then died. The massive vessel drifted UNMOVING.1 down. Thousands to go at Earth's orbital edge. The main enemy dreadnought appeared. It was the size of a city. Black, smooth, shaped like a blade. It didn't fire. It simply moved forward slow. Silent, terrible. Reyes stared at the screen. "That's the one," Argus added. "It controls the others. Cut the head, the body falls." Solon stepped forward. "How do we reach it?" Argus showed the battle map. Only one way through. Reyes activated the emergency channel. "All Terran ships. This is Reyes. Target, the dreadnought. All firepower, all wings. We hit it together. No retreat." He paused. "And if we fall at the Galaxy, remember who we were." Every Terran warship charged. Maya's squad punched through the enemy blockade, covering heavy bombers on approach. Explosions painted the sky red and gold. Kova's team was dropped by rail into the dreadnought's hull, drilling in with armor pods. Inside, the hulls were silent. Then dash movement, monstrous machines, shaped like spiders and ghosts, rose from the walls. Dren shouted, "Here they come." The squad fought room by room, reaching the control chamber in the Centauran orb, glowing. Alive the command core, Zane raised his weapon. "Is that the brain?" Kova planted the last charge. "Let's find out." They ran. Seconds later, charges exploded. The dreadnought shuddered. Outside, enemy ships slowed. Some lost power, others drifted, spinning aimlessly. "We did it." But Argus wasn't done. New signal, one more ship. Bigger. A final ship emerged from deep warp, not like the others. Sleek, white, silent, a command vessel of their masters. Reyes whispered, "They're true ones." It spoke, "One, last time, you resist well. But Earth must fall." This was only the beginning. Reyes looked straight ahead. "Then we haven't even started yet." He turned to the fleet. "Fire everything." Earth rose in fire, and the stars trembled. The sky above Earth was burning. Enemy ships hung like shadows over the planet, black, silent, endless. But Earth did not fall, not today, from the oceans to the orbit, from deep bunkers to towering spaceports. Humanity fought back. Fleet had come to wipe them out. Instead, it met the fury of a death world. General Reyes stood inside Fort Skyfire, the orbital command hub now shaking from repeated impacts. Sparks rained from the ceiling. Operators shouted status reports. But Reyes was calm. He looked at the screen at the final enemy command ship, sleek and white, unmoving but watching. Waiting, Solon stood beside him, her face streaked with blood and sweat. "We've thrown everything." "At that ship," she said, "missiles, cannons, nukes. It doesn't even flinch." Reyes nodded slowly. "Because it's not here to fight, it's here to judge." Argus, the ship's AI, spoke calmly. "Not built for war, built for control. It is broadcasting fear signals across Terran space. Attempts to disable our unity create chaos in our minds." Solon frowned. "Mind control?" Reyes shook his head. "Worse, it wants to break the human will." He turned to Argus. Then, it's time we show them something they've never seen. Argus paused. Are you sure, sir? Reyes nodded. Launch protocol, cradle fire. Far below, deep beneath Earth's crust, in a facility hidden for centuries. Massive machines woke. Dozens of nuclear-powered silos opened in the Arctic. Titan-class AI warmechs powered up on the moon, and from under the Nevada desert, something else rose, the cradle engine. Earth's final weapon in orbit, enemy ships fired again. 2 Terran destroyers exploded. Maya's fighter wing darted between wreckage and flame. Her oxygen was low. Her systems blinked red. Tilo's voice crackled through the comms. That command ship, it's draining us, making us hesitate. Maya stared at the ship glowing in the distance. No, she said. It's trying to scare us. But it forgot something. She flew toward it. We are fear. Back on the ground, civilians in bunkers watched the skies through trembling screens. Old men gripped rifles. Children held each other. Every soul knew. This was the final battle, and still, the signal tried to break them. Voices in their heads, doubts, fears, nightmares. But then something happened. The clouds parted. A thunder rose from the earth, and fire climbed into the heavens. The cradle engine launched from its silo, riding on a pillar of light. It was not a missile. It was a declaration. A weapon crafted not from fear, but from everything that made Earth survive 1,000 dark winters, pain, fire, steel, and love for home. It rocketed past the moon, and inside it wasn't just nuclear, it was Terran ETA. 2 minutes, Argus said in Kova's helmet. Once inside the ship's core, activate the package. You will not have time to escape. Zane looked over. So, this is it. Enemy ship ahead. No, he said. This is how it starts. The cradle engine slammed into the side of the enemy command. Ship, steel, screamed. The team moved. Through white glowing corridors that pulsed like veins. Alien defenses rose, but too late. Terran bullets tore through them. Kova planted the charge. In the Koran orb of pure psionic energy, pulsing like a brain, he looked at it and whispered, "This is for Earth." Then the world turned white. From the surface, people looked up and saw the enemy ship bloom into light. A silent explosion, no shockwave, no fireball, just every continent, every bunker, every ship. Humanity had survived the storm and lit the stars on fire. Hours later, inside Fort Skyfire, Solon stood at the main window with Maya. The sun rose over Earth's curve. Argus reported enemy retreat. Confirmed, survivors scattered. No fleet signatures remain in local space. Solon turned to Reyes. We did it. Reyes nodded. Because we remembered who we are. He looked around the command room. We're not just survivors. We're not just soldiers. We're Terrans, born from fire. Raised by struggle. We don't wait for mercy, he smiled. We become it. Down on the surface, children ran through the streets. Old people wept in joy. Families held each other. Survivors from Arvalon looked to the skies, where ships had once blocked the sun. Now the stars were clear, and on every world that had cried for help, from burned colonies to hidden outposts to abandoned planets, a single message played on repeat. We heard you, we answered. We are Earth, and we are coming for all those who cannot fight, for all those who were broken. You are not alone. Across the galaxy, the message spread like a firestorm. Allies awakened, enemies hesitated, and the forgotten races of a wounded galaxy looked toward Earth, not with fear, but with hope, somewhere, far beyond the known stars. A council of ancient beings watched the signal. They had built empires, crushed civilizations, played with creation like it was a toy. But now, they saw Earth, a planet that had no business surviving, a species that should have died in fire, a world that had risen it to beg, but to fight. One elder turned to another and spoke in a low, shaking voice. They are not our slaves anymore. They are Deathworlders, and they just set the galaxy on fire.